Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you and welcome to another installment of the Know Your Cash Zoom class. Again, I thank you for taking time out of your lives to participate in this empowerment and this financial consumer education content that we'll be disseminating and we'll be sharing and we'll be discussing together. Without much ado, I just also want to acknowledge the presence of our MNE, Mr. Kalima Silite. Thank you for joining us, sir. You're welcome. And I also want to acknowledge our chairman, Advocate Lwazumieza, who will be having the closing remarks at the end of the session. We've got our head of administration, Mr. Nhlanhla Bukaba. Thank you and welcome to be here and sharing this moment with us. And we've got our guest speakers, the dynamic ones. Thank you once again, the two gentlemen that I'll introduce, for taking time and for preparing the class for us. We'll be discussing two topics today. The first topic will be South African tax, and it will be rendered by yours truly, our CFO, Mr. Nathan Hellman. And the second topic will be income generating streams, which will be hosted by one and only lovely, the one and only subject and content specialist, our beloved Mr. Nick Mutiba. Now, without taking time, I just want to request just a few things. Let's make sure that our mics are muted so that we can have fluency in this class. And secondly, be aware that we've got incentives for people that are going to participate. We've got incentives for people that are going to be asking questions. If you look there on your main screen, at your home screen, where it says more, there is a chat function that you can use. You can raise a hand, you will be acknowledged. Like there I am, I just said hello and welcome. So I hope you'll use this chat function effectively. Ask as many questions as you need, ask as many questions as you can. Without much ado, I'd like to hand it over to Mr. Nathan Hellman. Mr. Hellman, good evening to you and welcome and all the best for today.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Kani, and I hope everyone else is doing well out there. Thank you once again for joining us and being part of this wonderful initiative, the Know Your Cash campaign. My aim tonight is to empower you with as much financial literacy content specifically around tax for South African students. I want you to leave this session feeling confident when you're confronted with the subject of tax, and that you will hopefully never have a problem managing your tax going forward. I promise you now that if you lend me your ears and eyes for a little while, I promise to add value to your life. I'm here to point out all the important factors of tax and offer you solutions to the potential challenges you will face in the future regarding taxation. As previously mentioned in one of our other classes, there are two things that are guaranteed in life, and that is death and taxes. So with that being said, let's give it attention it deserves, seeing as it's always going to be playing a role in our lives. So without further ado, let's get going. So firstly, what is tax? So basically, I want you to have a look at the screen now and see and have a look at this presentation. So tax is a compulsory contribution to state revenue. It's levied by the government on workers, income and business profits, or added to the cost of some goods and services transactions. So now that we all know what tax is, let's move on. So every time you pay tax out of your income, you should know that you're contributing for potentially brighter future, as well as maintaining the conditions you live in South Africa. For example, the universities you study in has been built from a portion of tax that has been paid from consumers of the economy. In the past, there should be an element of pride that you generate a salary and pay tax out of. It's a collective effort and responsibility we all need to fulfill if we realistically want to have a better future. The main purpose of taxation is to raise revenue for services of income and supports the community and needs public revenue should the adequate purposes come up. I'm sure you've all heard of SARS. So SARS is the governing body that is responsible for tax collecting in South Africa, and is the South African Revenue Service, or more commonly referred to as SARS, as you can see. All right, so when I was talking about when we pay tax, these are the type of institutions we build with our tax money, all right? So it's important that we all realize that we should be proud paying our taxes, and we shouldn't see it as a grudge payment like a lot of people do. We should see it as a way of building our community and building a better future for ourselves ultimately. Now, taxation is it's an extremely broad topic, but I've narrowed it down specifically to what it means to you as a student and a consumer in the economy, as well as how relevant it is to you guys. So I'm going to run through a practical example now. And what I like so much about this example is that it ties well into our next topic that will be presented by Mr. Motiba. So let's take this example, right? You have graduated. You're eligible for employment now. You're successful in obtaining a job. You now have to register to get your tax number, okay? And this is extremely important because your employer is going to require you to have a tax number in order to be compliant, all right? So how do you register for tax? Well, you go to a nearest SARS branch and you bring along your proof of identity, proof of address, and proof of bank details. You can also have a look at the website. The website can guide you and give you more insight into why it's important to be a taxpayer. Of course, it's compulsory, but it's also very important for you to understand where exactly is your money going. Okay, so one thing that's important to note before we move on, you must register as a taxpayer with the South African Revenue Services if you earn more than a specific amount, which is determined every year. And this must be registered within 60 days of receiving an income. So I don't want you guys to think just because you might be thinking of getting employed that you need to register to pay tax. If you have a small business or something like that, and you're earning over R1 million per year turnover, you also need to register for tax. So Mr. Motiba will go over a couple more details with that, but I just want to reiterate that point. Okay, so getting back to when you register for tax. So when you register as a taxpayer, what do you get back? Well, your employer needs your tax number to create what we call an IRP5. An IRP5 is your tax certificate that is issued to you at the end of each tax year that details all your employee related income deductions and related taxes. And basically, it's used by the employee specifically to complete your income tax return for a specific year. So what is a tax return? Well, a tax return is a form or forms filed with SARS that reports income, expenses, and other pertinent tax information. Tax returns allow taxpayers to calculate their tax liability, schedule tax payments, or request refunds for the overpayment of taxes. So I'm sure you guys, when you driving or you're in a taxi or whatever the case, you've seen these signboards, right? And these signboards basically say it's the start of tax season, and tax season is going to start running, start filing, everything like that. I'm sure you're wondering, so what exactly is that? What does that mean? Well, basically, it's the period of an opportunity that SARS gives you to submit your tax returns and ensure that you are up to date with your taxes. Your employer needs to provide you with your IRP5, which will disclose what your taxable earnings have been for the previous financial year, which, by the way, is the 1st of March to 28th of Feb every year, and how much tax your employer will be paid on your behalf. Now, there are certain things that you can use to claim tax back, and that's when you get what's called a refund. This is lovely because this is the wonderful times when SARS actually pays you money back. Can you believe it? Yeah, it's possible. So what can I use to claim tax back? Well, if you're contributing towards a retirement annuity, which is under our savings and investment topic, you'll receive a tax certificate, which qualifies as a tax deduction against your taxable income. If you're a commission earner as opposed to a salaried employee, you can claim multiple expenses that you pay towards getting an income. For example, if you travel to clients, you can claim for the petrol you use as well as the depreciation on your vehicle. Basically, any expenses you incur to redeem a commission. Right, so we're all clear on that. And please, guys, as I'm going, please just post some questions. Anything you're unsure of, if I'm going a bit fast or anything like that, just let me know, or just raise your hand and kindly will basically have a look at that. Okay, but we are going to have a question and answer session towards the end. this presentation. Okay, so when exactly can I file my tax returns? Well, you can file them from the period, and this is update 2020. You can file your returns from the 1st of September to the 16th of November. Taxpayers who file online from the 1st of September to 22nd of October, and taxpayers who cannot file electronically can do just so at SARS branch by appointment. But the 1st of September to the 31st of January is for provisional taxpayers. But I'll get to that at a slightly later stage. All right. So now that we're pretty clear, I want us to now have a look at the tax tables. Okay. Because now I've mentioned to you what's tax returns. I've mentioned to you what's an IRP5, so you're aware of that. But how is your tax actually calculated? Well, this table that you guys see in front of you basically illustrates exactly how your tax is calculated, okay? And I have a small exercise for you guys. I want you guys to take a look at this table carefully. And this is where I'm going to test you. So calculators out, pens out, let's go. And I want you to put your answers on the chat facility that we have. So if I'm an employee, right, and I'm earning a taxable income per year of 500,000, how much tax does my employer need to be paying towards SARS? I'm going to give you a minute or two, and then I would like to start seeing some answers. Kanye, if you can just manage that process.
Definitely on it. Thank you, Nathan. I'm on it.
Okay, fantastic. So, guys, carry on. I'm going to give you a little bit more time.
Well, Mr. Hellman, there is an all the way to here that's asking, what did you say again? IRP 5 years again. Well, what is an IRP 5? That's what she wants to know.
Okay, no, great question. So an IRP 5, in simple terms, is a document which discloses your income that you're generating with the company, as well as your deductions and expenses. So it illustrates exactly how much tax you've paid and how much income you've generated. It's a way of SARS establishing that this person is a taxpayer, number one, and that they're earning an income and how much of that income is being paid towards SARS. Is it correct or is it not?
No, thank you for that. I'm sure Olutu is covered. Olutu, let me unmute you and see if maybe you are satisfied or you've got a follow-up question to that. Just bear with me. Here we go. All right. Maybe Olutu, are you comfortable with the response? Do you still have a follow-up question?
I think she said she is.
Okay, no, thank you. Moving right along, there is another question. This is Landiwe Stole. She says, I'm not sure if I heard you mentioning tax rebate. What does that mean?
A tax rebate, yes. So a tax rebate basically refers to the process of where you have filed for your tax return. So you've got your IRP 5 and you're now filing for the returns, okay? So when you're filing for the returns, SARS will then calculate and say, okay, this person's paid X amount of tax, right? Depending on what deductions you have. So let's work again on the example of 500,000. So the answer, by the way, is 125,192 Rand that tax that you'd owe SARS. So that's what your IRP 5 reflects, right? But you now have a retirement annuity where you've been paying towards for the last 12 months, okay? You will then get issued with a tax certificate. You will then process that with SARS, and SARS will then say, hang on, there's a deduction that you can claim for. So they will give you back a percentage of what you've been paying towards your retirement annuity as a tax rebate.
Wonderful stuff. I'm confident that you gave a full answer, and I hope Landiwe is covered. Can I just ask if anyone knows how to use the function of raising a hand in a situation where instead of typing you would like to voice out a question, and would obviously give you the necessary permissions to do that. But there is another question here, Mr. Hellman. The question goes, it's by Mr. Ntlantla. It says, please, can you elaborate on pay as you earn? Payee.
Yes, 100%. So pay as you earn is tax that you pay towards. So when you generate a salary, it's a compulsory payment that you make towards a fund, and pay as you earn is basically just an illustration of your percentage of the tax that you pay towards that fund within SARS. There's also other fees that you have to pay, which I'm going to get to now. I was just basically having a pause for you to have a look and see at the tax table so that you can understand exactly how you are taxed. Can everyone see the table, by the way? Is it showing?
Yes, it is. It is, Mr. Hellman. It's very vivid. I'd like to propose a motion of moving, but allow me to put it in this way. If possible, I think this presentation that Mr. Hellman has will be shared to you. We'll email it through as soon as we get your email addresses, and you can have it, and you can always refer to it when you need more information. We also have an electronic pamphlet that we'll also share with you with the various topics that we've been covering from other classes.
Future. When we were your age, believe me, we never had people who could teach us about these things. What you guys have done is, I wish I could see you clapping for yourselves. You've actually started investing in your future. You've started investing in yourselves. You could have chosen to take your data as you have it now and use it for something else. But guess what you did? You decided, I'm going to take my money, I'm going to take my time and listen to, you can call us experts because we've been there for quite a while. We're still learning as we go. How I would like this session to go is, I would like you guys to ask me questions. Two things that I would like to get from you. Just think back from when you still know. Think of Abu Mama Basekasi, people around your hood. What sort of businesses have they started? How successful are they? Small businesses to that business. And the second one that I'd like you to think about, and then like our co-host was saying, if you go down to the bottom of the screen and click at the bottom of the screen, you'll see there's an option that asks you to raise your hand. So that way we will know that you are about to ask us a question. Second option, you can go into the chat and just type your questions. Our chief administrator there will handle it, and our co-host as well will actually handle it for you. Enough said about housekeeping. Talk to me about your business. What business are you doing? How are you going to start that business? Maybe the pertinent question should be when. I'll tell you why I've asked those questions. We've seen people with flashy cars and you think entrepreneurs want to be a guy who drives that car, and one day when I'm rich, and you know that one day when I'm rich, but forgetting that we start with baby steps, So what I would like to talk to you about is income generating streams. Now, Nathan spoke to you about taxes. So when you generate income, you get to a certain threshold, you must pay tax. Two things in life, death and taxes. Those two things are guaranteed. Now, your type of business that you want to start. I remember when I was at UCT, what I used to do is I used to render my services to certain people. Now, you'll ask me, what kind of services would you render? If you're a financial student and you know how to do bookkeeping, isn't it time that you get into a space where you've learned a little about tax, you know a little about filing? You've probably gone to your mother's office, or probably gone to somebody who owns a spaza shop, but they do not know how to calculate the stock in and the stock out. They do not know how to calculate certain financial things that you as a student would have learned, they wouldn't have known. The second one is, let's just take another shop, just at the garage around the corner from where we fill in petrol, the petrol station. If you go in there and volunteer and ask them, you know what, because I'm still a student and over the weekends I'm not really doing much, can I be a petrol attendant? I know most of you are thinking, oh, imagine all my friends are going to be looking at me thinking, oh yes, he's a petrol attendant. How many of them, you heard us talking about Advocate Luazi. You will be introduced to him soon. I've known a couple of lawyers and advocates, people in law, who started by working at a You guessed it correctly. Petrol station. Huh? Makes sense. You have your own uniform. And guess what? If you have that, that's where you start learning the service, how to be kind to a client, how to be accurate with the numbers. Because if I said 500 rands 95, it means 500 rands 95. If I said 200 rands diesel, it has to be as precise. And then you start adding other things like your value adds. Say, can I wipe your window? Oh, can I fill in your water? How's your oil? Your tire pressure, it looks like the tire on the left-hand side is wearing off. Maybe in time you might have to change the tires. What you've done is you've added value to a customer who just came to the petrol station. Guess what? Just to oil petrol and vamoose. Then you start learning other things. Most petrol stations would have a convenience store. They sell groceries. You start seeing people going in, and some people will give you tips. I mean, I at the petrol station, I give tips. So maybe you might be like, one day I'll give you a tip. Most students, when I was still a student as well, used to work for retail shops. You might be thinking clothing shops, perfume shops. Not necessarily. You realize that if you were to go and work at a shop where they sell food as well, voluntarily, just to learn two basic things: the work ethic, waking up on time, doing your job, and going back home to rest so that you look forward to the next day. So those are the three things that make you really want to work. I mean, why would you want to work if you're not looking forward to going to work, if you're not there on time, if you're not servicing them accordingly? And then you start learning how the bosses speak, because they'll be here. Wow, you didn't do X, Y, and Z. Then customer service. Can you imagine if you were to meet somebody who thinks they earn more than you, they look down upon you, and they do not know who you are, where you come from, but all they want to show you is they are paying you their money, and you will act and you will do exactly as they please, because they always say customer is king. I always say customer is right. Now, when do you learn those skills? You will say, my CV, they always say they want experience. But that's what I'm talking about. You will be a manager of a certain portfolio within where you are working. You've seen Abu Mama Betu selling groceries or selling vegetables and fruit. Think about it. If you are a marketing student, now we've moved from the financial side of students to the marketing students. If you were to sell the same vegetables and fruit, or help them maybe over the weekend, by branding their stalls, by making sure that they display their items in a certain way, reminding them that, to carry certain luggages requires a certain way of the logistics side of things. They're moving from point A to point B, they're going through dust, but their items are not wrapped. Maybe it might be cheaper for them to wrap it this way, package it this way. Do you see what you're doing already? You're starting to add value. I remember I was talking to one of the our traditional healers, the spiritual healer. Yes, you'll be surprised. We have friends like that. Most of us have families like that. But have you noticed what they do? And maybe some of them, this is where you add value, baby. They would give you a portion of whatever they want to give you, and they wrap it in paper, and it is not nice. But can you imagine if somebody was to wrap it? I'll give you an example. If most of them were to buy, say, containers like this, and whatever portions they give you and pour them in